Let's make a super easy, low-fat, plant-based corn chowder.
This chowder is going to change your mind on just how good low-fat cooking can be.
Absolutely. Love this. I've made this for years and recently made this version of it that just works so much better. So where do we start?
We're going to start with some veg prep. We're going to start with a full stalk of celery.
And all you want to do is chop off the nasty bits, you know, the little ends that nobody wants. And I have a bowl over here. This is our broth bowl. You want to explain what the broth bowl is? Because no one will know.
So I reserve all of our veggie scraps that are suitable for making a vegetable broth. And I just put them in a resealable bag in our freezer until I have enough in that bag. And then I make the broth. We have a full video on that broth making method. And I'll link it in the description below.
And once I cut them to manageable size pieces, I'm going to put them in a chopper. And I'm going to chop them up. I just love this thing. Talked about it in other videos. If you don't have one and you want one, we'll have links to it in the description below. I think they're fantastic. I never thought I would want it, but
they're fun.
I use it all the time.
Somebody actually gave us a hard time about our excitement of it. Our excitement is legitimate, people. It's fine.
Next
Is our potatoes.
Now, for potatoes in this, I just want to cut them to about 1/2 inch or so thickness.
And this is 1 1/4 pounds worth of potatoes.
Yeah, roughly. I mean, you know, every recipe is a little bit subject to variation. If you have a little bit more or a little bit less, it doesn't really matter.
For this recipe, we left the skins on, but I did scrub them thoroughly with a veggie brush.
Yes. We leave the skins on because, I mean, you know, more nutrients, more fiber. Why not? And again, as I always recommend, do this standing up. It's so much easier. One more thing I will say is there's a lot of ways to make corn chowder. This is just the way I do it. Feel free to change it up and do it your way. It's all good. I never like to say that there's only one way to do pretty much anything, especially when it comes to cooking.
Do you want to go ahead and put
Yeah, it's getting full. I got to dump this out. Round 2.
Next up is 1/2 an onion.
Cut off the nasty bits. This gets made into broth. Paper, everything. You really should watch the video. I've told so many people about it, and that was neat.
That
it
was
like
neat.
rolled and ended up on its end.
That's like a magic trick.
Yeah. I don't want to use that part now.
We could stay.
I'm going to save that.
We're only using half anyway, so.
Yeah. And 1/2 an onion in the chopper. I was saying something, though. What was I saying?
I don't know. We were so distracted by your magic onion.
Oh, it was the broth. The broth from scraps. It's kind of amazing. If you look at the cost of like veggie broth in the store, you'll pay a fortune for it. I mean, I don't even know how much it is because we haven't bought it in years. We take all those scraps from carrots and onions and celery and mushrooms and garlic and all that kind of stuff and put them all in the Instant Pot, cook it down, and makes this broth that tastes so incredible. It tastes better than what you can buy in the store, and it costs you literally nothing. It's things you would throw away.
Yeah.
And water, and it makes the most amazing broth. So please go watch that video. Derek will put a link to it, and it's just so good.
Let's put some more stuff in this pot.
Okay, veg prep is done. What's next?
A 15-ounce can of corn, drained.
This is just whole kernel corn.
Yep.
You can use sweet corn, you can use baby corn, you can use whatever you want. It's just a can of corn. You can use frozen corn if you really want to. We were buying cream of corn for the next thing that goes in, so we just got some whole kernel corns too.
Speaking of cream of corn, 2 14.25 ounces cans of cream of corn.
I love this stuff. I grew up on it. It's kind of weird until you get used to it.
Do you need a spatula?
Nope.
Oh, you could use the veggie broth to...
That's right.
Oh.
There's a method to this madness. Kinda. It was at this point that I started to wonder if I have a large enough pot.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good. We're fine. Next.
2 cups of the aforementioned veggie broth.
And I'm going to rinse out those cans with this. You know, we're not going to waste any of that cream corn. First, get the lid. Get a little inside there.
Swishy, swishy.
I happen to know that these are about 2 cups. So, and we just freeze it, actually.
Yeah.
She puts it in these containers and we just freeze it. And in that goes too. And then?
You want to be cooking with Brian without some time.
That's right. How much?
2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons of thyme. And I'm just going to use the lid because that should pretty much do it. The flavor that comes from thyme works so beautiful in corn chowder, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really makes this dish.
It is the main herbal component, if you will. That and black pepper, which I think is coming.
It is.
And how much did I put on the recipe?
I just put black pepper to taste.
Yeah. Half a teaspoon, 3/4 of a teaspoon. Even a teaspoon in this isn't going to be too much. And then...
tablespoon of soy sauce.
Now I know, you're going to go, why would you put soy sauce in this? Okay, you could just use salt if you want to.
But we don't want to.
I don't want to, for one. And soy sauce adds an extra dimension of depth of flavor and umami, not just sodium. Plus, I heard it somewhere, I'd have to find out if it's true, somebody can probably tell me, that the salt in soy sauce is not as bad for you as just regular, like, table salt. I don't know, I'm just saying what I heard somewhere, so, you know, take it as you will. Okay, this is gonna go on the stove. All right, bring it over to the stove, and I just wanna mix this up before I turn the heat on. I have not even started it yet. Because, you know, all those herbs sitting in the top and everything. And I'm just going to turn it on to high for a couple of minutes. Because what I want to do is get this to a boil. And then I'm going to take it down to low. So we have it up to a boil. I just want to give it a mix to make sure nothing's stuck to the bottom of that pot. And then we're going to turn the heat down to somewhere between 1 and 2 on our stove. And leave that for about 30 minutes. Now, what we have on the stove would make a pretty nice soup all on its own. But I wouldn't really call that a chowder because, I mean, what makes a chowder a chowder? Lots of things, actually. But one of them is usually they're creamy. So I'm going to use one of my new toys. I got a NutriBullet. I finally did it. I debated back and forth, and I'm just going to talk about this for a second. Sorry. I've had a Vitamix for years, and I think it's wonderful and amazing. But the containers to do smaller amounts are horrible. They just don't work well at all. Ours the other day, like, sprayed stuff everywhere, just horrible. So when I want to make a smaller amount of a sauce or a dip or something like that, that's where I looked at the NutriBullet. And I have to say that the Pro version that we got, the 1200 watt version, absolutely fantastic. This is the larger cup, but we didn't even need the larger cup for this. I could use the smaller one. But anyway, what is this that I'm putting in here?
It's a dairy-free milk.
This happens to be soy milk. And it's how much of it?
A cup.
1 cup. Okay. Now, there's a lot of ways to make something creamy in the plant-based world. Some of those are cashews, which is not low fat. And others are like, you can use hemp seeds, you can use all sorts of things to make things creamy. We're going to use morinu tofu. Now, the reason for that is morinu tofu has some protein in it as well. So this is our protein source for this dish. And I have my own particular way of opening morinu packages. By the way, it really does have to be morinu tofu because it's the only one that tastes kind of neutral-ish. If you go with like any of the store brands, silken tofu and stuff, it doesn't really work. And please do not try using firm or extra firm tofu for this. It's going to be disgusting. It will not work the way you think it should. But I cut off the 2 wings, cut off the bottom one so that there's a hole there so it can drain. And then the whole thing should plop out and probably splash in the milk. Like that.
Ta-da!
Nothing inside the box.
We need 1.5 tablespoons of garlic. We're using pre-minced garlic because it just makes life so much easier.
Yep. I hate peeling garlic. It's just 1.5, you said?
1.5.
All right, so I'm just going to do like that and then a little more. We like garlic. And then
2 teaspoons of chickenless bouillon.
We're using the vegetarian better than bouillon. No chicken base.
Yeah.
2 teaspoons, you said?
Yep.
So about that much.
Now we are aware that we're using veggie broth in the soup already, but this bouillon is going to give a little bit of a different flavor. That's going to work for our base really well.
That's our creamy base. Put the lid on. Blend it.
The only problem I have with this particular blender is that it's really loud.
It really is. See that right there? That's the most awesome part about this particular model. You don't have to hold it. The other ones, you have to push it down and hold it.
Just wait.
This one, you can just let it go. You can also hit the button and stop it. This wasn't meant to be an ad for the NutriBullet, but if you want to get one, I'll have the link to it below. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it is using our affiliate system, so we do get a little bit of a commission if you do buy one. But I'll tell you what, it's actually pretty awesome. We got the soup part. We got the creamy part. But what if we wanted a little bit more thick? Like, I like my chowder to be like, it should like be hard to scoop. I'm joking. But to do that, I'm going to use a slurry.
But of course, we're not going to do just any old plain slurry. No, we're going to Bryanize it and use whole wheat flour.
How much did I put in?
You used 3 tablespoons of whole wheat flour.
Okay, this just happens to be King Arthur whole wheat flour. If you don't have whole wheat, white works too. And then
a 1/4 cup of water.
And, a 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup, it's not super crucial, but you want enough that you can mix this up and make it a liquid. And what this does, it works kind of like a roux, except that there's no oil, butter, or fat added to it. It's literally just a slurry of the whole wheat mixed with some water, and it'll act as a thickener.
The key here is to make sure that you get all of the flour mixed in so that there's no lumps or bumps.
You don't want to go into your chowder and get a nice dry dollop of whole wheat flour. Definitely not something I would look forward to. And now we wait for the chowder to finish cooking. All right, our 30 minutes is up. It's time to make this creamy and thick. And first up is our creamy base. You pour that in. Look at that. I'm just going to use a spatula and get the rest out. And then our slurry. And I'm just going to use the same spatula. Scrape it all in there. And now I want to stir that through because otherwise it's just sitting on top and, it doesn't look so good. So essentially we have 3 thickening agents going on here. The cream corn will actually act as a lot of thickening, as well as the potatoes add some starch. And then we have the creamy base, which is going to add some thickening, but then the slurry really kicks it up. So I want to turn the heat up just a little bit because that slurry won't actually do anything until it comes roughly to a boil. So we want to make sure that that gets enough heat. Okay, once I get that all mixed up, there's still a couple more things we want to add. One of them is 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. I like to add this. It's a little extra protein, a little extra flavor. That might even be almost 3 tablespoons. And to make up for the fact that there's no bacon-like product in this, I'm just going to add about a 1/2 teaspoon of liquid smoke. Just adds a little bit of a smoky flavor, and then mix that all through. It's starting to thicken up nice. So what I'm going to do now, turn it down to maybe 1 or 2 on the stove, and then just let this simmer for 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll be ready to taste it. All right, so about 10 minutes has gone by. This is thickened up beautifully. It's time to put some in a bowl and taste it. Best time of every video, we get to taste this.
It's just a thing of beauty. Honestly, it is.
When we did the test version of this, we ate the entire thing.
We did.
Now, I'm going to put the card up that has all of the macros in this. It's surprisingly low in calories because there's not a lot of fat to make up a crazy amount of calories.
Normally when we make a soup, we sprinkle a little something on top just to make us feel fancy. There is nothing that you can put on this soup that'll make it better than what it is already.
More soup.
More soup. Top your soup with soup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the corn is just like that nice sweet freshness, even though it was canned corn. Canned corn is one of the few canned vegetables that I actually like. And the potatoes just make it feel rich and filling. But the creaminess of this, you would swear this was loaded with heavy cream. You would swear it's loaded with it. Just fantastic. And there's plenty of protein in there too from the morinu. Before we go eat the rest of this corn chowder ourselves, let's talk storage options. If it lasts long enough, you can put this in the fridge for several days to a week, or you can freeze it. It tends to not last long enough in our house. I did say we're going to eat the whole pot, and we did last time. I think we're going to do it again because this is just amazingly good.
I believe when we froze this in the past that it didn't have the separation problem that traditional chowders have.
Well, we never froze it with the morinu.
Oh.
We never tried it this way. This is a relatively new recipe. I have made this before just without morinu in it.
Okay.
I did it with cashews.
Cashews, right.
Yeah, which you can do with cashews. It's just going to be a lot more fat that way. So
more.
that's why we didn't do it. But anyway, as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on The Bistro.